YouTube, baby, what's good? I am your host with Breaking Trauma and Healing. This is Real Malfunction, also known as Malachi. How are we doing today, guys? How are we doing? Hope we're doing good. I want to talk to you guys about. I know my last video had something to do with empathy, so I want to describe basically how you can use that in your life to benefit you in order to benefit somebody else. And that sounds confusing as shit, but it's not, I promise, because in all actuality, it's very simple once you start learning how to do it. But if you can learn these 5 emotional skills, it ties into empathy. All right. But without further ado, actually, before we get into the video, click the link in the description if you would like to learn from my mentors in order to grow your YouTube channel more effectively, okay? Last but not least, let's get into it. All right. So, today's video is going to be about it's the 5 emotional skills you should learn in order to heal. Okay, in my opinion. There's probably a lot more, but I like to stick with 5 because 5 is pretty simple, gives you enough to digest, and then it gives you enough to start implying in your life if you want to. Okay? And I'm going to give you examples with all of these, so that way you can see how I see it. The first one is to identify how you feel. Okay? You got to understand what makes you tick. And you got to ask yourself questions. When you ask yourself questions, you set yourself up to find the answer. Okay? But when you make a statement, you're setting yourself up for failure. Okay? When you make a statement, instead of asking a question, so like, I'll give you an example. So there's this waiter, right? And the waiter is taking food to people. It's a lady. There's 2 gentlemen sitting down at the table, and she's coming to give them the food. As soon as she comes to give them the food, she drops it all on their table. Makes a huge mess, right? Instead of her asking herself, like, damn, like, you know, what just happened, right? She makes a statement about herself saying, I'm clumsy. So I feel like when you ask yourself questions, you can figure out answers. When you make statements, it's true. But that also plays with like auto-suggestion and everything like that. So identify how you feel. I'll give you another example. I was playing the game last night with a couple of homies, and we were playing Call of Duty, and it's crazy. We're playing Rebirth again, okay? And I'm playing with the homie and one of his friends. I don't know this guy. Never met him. You know, never like played with him before. Just don't know him. In the game, I happened to break shield on somebody. I guess because he was right behind me. He killed the guy, but I guess the guy had said the exact same thing that I had said. Like, oh damn, I broke his shield. And it's crazy. So as soon as that guy said that, the guy was like, my homie's friend was like, he's like, shut up. He was like, shut up, bitch. You didn't break shit or whatever the fuck he said. And I was just thinking to myself, like, damn, was he talking to me? Like, there's no way in fuck that, you know, like that guy said the same thing, right? So I had asked him. I had identified what I felt. I was like, damn, I don't even know this guy. Like, what the fuck? Like, first of all, I don't like playing with toxic people. So, I mean, you shouldn't want to play with toxic people anyways. They're fucking toxic. So if something like that was to happen, I would just be like, huh, okay. So I identified like, damn, is he disrespecting me? Or am I just taking it wrong? And I handled it right. I handled it perfectly. So I was just like, yo, bro, I was like, you weren't talking to me, were you? And then he said something like, or no, then the homie jumped in and he was like, no, I think you guys said the same thing as when you died. And I was like, there's no way. There's no way. I was just laughing about it. And then the other guy got like butthurt, extremely butthurt. And he was like, I don't give a fuck. Dad, you know who I am. And I'm just like, dude, you're funny, bro. Like, funny. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I identified how I felt. I was like, all right, well, I don't know if it's disrespect. I don't think it is, but it just happened in like perfect unison. So I was just like, damn, okay. And then the second thing I'll get into in the for another example in just a second, but I identified how I felt. All right, it could have been his tone of voice. You know what I mean? It could have been anything. The second thing is identify what made you feel like that. So, tone of voice, right? One of them. Body language could be one of them. How you present what you just said could be another one of them. It's a multitude of things. So, I identified what made me feel like that. COD timing. I guess he got a hot mic. My hot mic lined up with his hot mic. He was talking shit to the other guy. It was just miscommunication. I was like, all right, word. No big deal. And the crazy thing is that was the second one. So it's identify what made you feel like that. Okay, I did. That was a good example. The third thing, okay, is honestly one of my favorites because I like learning new techniques on how I can control my emotions and handle my emotions and channel that energy differently. And the third one is how you do that. It's learning a coping skill in order to do that. So during that moment when it was a heated exchange, instead of me being like, no, and getting all mad over the internet, right, and over a game, like a lot of people do, they want to show their muscle because, you know, they don't have other skills adept to handle and equipped to handle situations like that. That's why they take things personally and then they end up lashing out. Me, I just wanted to see, like, I've never played with you. You know, I just wanted to see where your mind was at. And I could see his mind was hostile. Like, he wanted action, but, like, then again, he was, like, testosterone. I don't know what it was. I don't care. But I'm just trying to give you an example of what it can look like, right? And so when you identify a coping skill, my coping skill during all this was literally, I looked at chat because I was streaming, and I was just like, took a deep breath, and I just smiled. I was like, all right, whatever. Shook it off. Whatever. It's not a big deal. You know, you got 84,000 seconds in a day, and I'm not going to let 10 seconds ruin my day. Like, I'm not. Like, that doesn't make no sense to me. You could also go on walks, though, if you are able to use that coping skill. You can just relax. Just relax your body. I also did that. I relaxed my body because normally when we get into, like, a heated moment, as humans, we get tense. We get tense and we hold our breath, and you know what I mean, like, so I relaxed myself. I dropped my shoulders, dropped my tongue from the roof of my mouth, and I just breathed. And I had to laugh about it because, like, at the end of the day, it's funny because, like, at the end of the day, I don't know you don't know me. Shit's funny. Like, what are we gonna fight? We're gonna fight about the game? Man, get the fuck out of here. That's petty as shit. I'm not throwing hands with nobody that wants to fight about over this game. That just doesn't make sense to me. You could also meditate. I love meditating. I love working out. But in some situations, you're not going to be able to use a coping skill like that. Like, if you're at work and somebody triggers you, you can't go on a fucking walk. You know what I mean? You can't drop down and just start working out. You know, so you have to find a coping skill that works for you. The fourth thing is being able to talk about it after the fact without being emotionally charged, right? Without being emotionally attached to the situation, what just happened, right? So what does that look like? Normally when we talk about things as humans, what tends to happen? If we talk about problems, I talked about this before, but it's a little bit more in detail. Normally, yeah, sometimes people try to up you, be like, my problems are worse than your problems. But the main thing that happens when you start talking about things is you get triggered again, emotionally. You start talking about things and be like, this person did this to me and I'm just pissed off. Now you're mad again. Now you're upset again instead of just letting that shit go. right? Because that's what we tend to do as creatures of habits. We want to talk to somebody about it to re-clarify what we are feeling, to revalidate what we just felt. That's why we talk about it. Now, the fourth thing is being able to talk about it without being emotionally charged or attached to what just happened. So you can be like, oh no, that person did that. I handled it different, or I handled it wrong. I know I could have handled it differently. That's how you should handle a situation like that. And then you can keep going on and you know, talk about the situation. But being like, I'll give you an example. Being able to talk about a situation with me and my cousin. So me and my cousin played the game. Sometimes niggas just don't like to talk on the game. I'm a big talker. I like to talk, communicate, so we can get dubs and stuff like that. And my cousin wasn't doing it. I called him out. I was like, "Name, you gonna talk, or you just gonna sit there in silence and get smacked all game?" He got a little offended about it, and then, you know, we eventually just like stopped playing the game together. Later on, like maybe an hour after that game happened, we FaceTime each other, talk this shit out, and be like, "Nah, it's just a game, man. I understand where you coming." You know, he gave me his point. He's like, "I understand where you coming from. You need niggas to talk. I know, it's we in the war. You feel me? We in war. We need to talk. We need to communicate with people." And I was like, "Exactly." And I was like, "I understand where you coming from. Well, you got your babies. I know you can't talk to the mic sometimes, so I get it. Communication. You see how that worked? I'm not mad at him for not talking to me in the game. That's petty. That's high school shit. We can get over that. That's easy. A lot of these problems that people have I'm not taking away from the problem. The problem is there. It's realistic. But the solution, if you think about the solution, is easier to handle than thinking about the problem all the time. Okay? The last thing that I think you guys should definitely understand, this is probably the most important. This is probably the most important, right? And it leads into what I just said. Me and my cousin talking to each other afterwards. It's being able to be empathetic with another person, right? It's learning to be empathetic with another person, okay? So that means if you learn how to put yourself in other shoes effectively, that's the goal. That's the change. Just like I did. I was like, dang, cuz I understand you got babies, you know, you got kids. We can't talk sometimes because they're sleeping, or you're out, you know, taking care of them. You're away from the game for a sec. I understand. And then he came back and he's like, I understand what you mean though too, cuz this is war. I like winning too, cuz, so I get it. So we were on the same page. All right? Another thing is why do you want to do that? Why would you want to put yourself in other people's shoes? Is because you will begin to realize if you do that, right, the way people will respond to you will change drastically. And not only that, but the way people will react to you will change. You won't get those reactions no more where, you know, a person would be like, no, fuck you, I'm not playing the game with you no more, or however else that would look like, you know, like, oh no, you're whatever, you know, just trying to shake it off. You won't get those kind of reactions. Instead, you'll get those responses, be like, I understand where you're coming from. I like to win too. I'm competitive. So I'm going to do my best to talk next time. And if I do have something going on with my babies, then I'm going to just let you know, like, hey, cuz I'll be right back. That way, you know, and I know we're on the same page. So that way, when I come back, be like, yo, I'm back. You know, we can get right back into it. There's no delay. All right. And that's perfect to me. That works to me, you know, because I understand where he came from, and then he understood where I came from. And that's beautiful. So here's the thing. If you act like their issue is important and actually take the time to care and feel a little and try to use empathy, now you're using compassion, right? You're no longer using hate or jealousy or anger to communicate or get your or to communicate or try to get your problem solved, right? You're using compassion, and people respond better with compassion, with understanding, right? Than do this now. I mean, like, if you used to be a kid, I'm pretty sure your mom hit you with the, you know, go to your room and do your chores. You're like, fuck that shit. But if she gave you an incentive, it'd be like, all right, I'll give you $20 every day you do your chores without me having to ask. Now it's an incentive, like, damn, well, I don't have a job. I need $20 a day. let me just do these chores without her asking. She comes home, damn, the trash is taken out. Oh, your bed's made. Oh, the dishes are done. The kitchen's clean. Here's $20. That's what my mom did. She used to tell me, do chores without me asking and I'll give you paid. I'm like, okay. I maybe did it for like 2 weeks, but shit, that 2 weeks I was getting paid. And that's what we're talking. That's what I'm talking about. You know, that's what I'm talking about. The last thing you get when you are learning about empathy and working on your empathy is you get to realize somebody else's paradigm or perspective towards the situation. So you get more understanding about what happened. Then in turns, guess what? If it happens again, it's a cycle. Now you can identify how you feel, what made you feel like that. Now you can identify a coping skill, right? Then you can be able to talk about it without being emotionally charged. And then that leads to having empathy about it. So then in turns, if it happens again, boom, you already know the cycle. And then what happens? How do you get better at something? Repetition. You got to do it every day. That's key. Repetition. So that is the 5 emotional skills you should learn in order to heal more effectively. Okay? It's your boy Real Malfunction. I appreciate you guys for coming out, always supporting the channel. If you want to hear more, please hit that notification bell and that subscribe button. I bring you videos every day, if not every other day, about breaking trauma and healing. So I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Last but not least, go ahead and click that link in the description if you want to learn from my mentors in order to change your YouTube channel for more high volume views, better keyword searches, more authentic engagements with your viewers, and last but not least, how to make real money with YouTube. All right. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Have an awesome day. Let's get at it, warriors. Peace.